Party purpose.
Dad.
Bring your family together. Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
And welcome back to the Meta Grand Finals. Not finals, sorry, I got way too excited there. The winners finals here at Meta to decide who will be advancing to the Grand Finals and who will have to fight their way through the losers bracket in order to get there. The two teams we have fighting for you today in this highly anticipated best of 3 series is going to be Rangitoto College facing up against Perth Modern High School. I'm still Midnight, and join with me for this best of 3 series, as he has been throughout the entirety of the day, is of course Tico.
Yeah, hello and welcome back everyone. Yeah, we're in the finals, best of 3 for these teams, so they have 2 chances, maybe 3, depending on how it goes. Yeah, 2 or 3 chances depending on how they play to be able to take this game away. So, I mean, first game is anyone's game, but whoever takes that has the momentum in their favor to be able to take a second game away, and that's always a disadvantage for a best of 3, because you really sometimes you want to use the first game as like this is how they play, and then the second game is this is how we're going to play, and then see if that works. If that doesn't, then we play something else. But you don't really have that many opportunities when it comes to a best of 3. So
yeah, there are 2 ways I like to see best of 3s played, or just best of series in general. The first is the high octane, go in aggressive, go in, I think loud and dumb is probably the best expression I can think of. Get, Renekton, Lucian, Braum, stuff that dominates early, and just try smash your opponent as quickly as possible. Really get into their heads and take over. The other one, Tico, and I personally prefer the strategy of League of Legends in general, is this one. The Sloth. Take your damn sweet time. You have a lot of time to work out what the other team's got going for them, and just there's no need to force it. Pick something scaling. We've seen Kai'Sa, we've seen Vayne today already. There is no harm in grabbing something that
like
takes
a Kassadin
time to become relevant, like a Kassadin, like in this case, like Bengali's Rengar, which he won't get access to.
Well, you could put Kale up at the top side as well. I mean, there's so many opportunities to do a little bit of a turtle or a little bit of a sloth. But they are taking away the Vladimir from the soil, so yeah. And they just really want to take away assassins from Guapi. They saw what
I remember MEO last year. He pulled out the Nakali, and it was devastating. So bit of a different champion back then, but it's still something you need to remove from him. And speaking of removal, though, the mid lane does seem to be getting quite a bit of love and attention here. 3 bans, at least for now, thrown at it. And I wonder, do you just throw everything at him, or do you actually start worrying about, well, what does everyone else have available to him? Lemon Lord looks quite comfortable on engaged supports, but instead, top lane falls victim as the gangplank.
Well, they want to take away the strong champions away, and I feel like the biggest threats to them are the top jungle and mid, because first, they don't know how Soil plays. They might be able to look at his op.gg and say, okay, these are the champions he plays, but they don't know how this guy plays. So they need to play it safe, and they play it safe.
Yeah, talk about playing it safe. Ornn's probably the safest you can play it nowadays in that top lane. Like, the only real bad part about playing Ornn is that they can lock in a Mordekaiser, and it's not the end of the world. It sucks, but it is manageable here. But instead, they do decide, lean away from the Mordekaiser. Maybe we can, swoop back it up for block 3. Double Glacial bot lane does seem to be the preference here from Rangitoto.
The strong bot lane is always coming through from these two. The double slows is hard. It is hard to deal with it. You saw how crazy the Ashe slows were in Rangitoto trying to escape from it. Now imagine a Braum on top of that with concussive blows stacked on top. Ashe just firing away with her volley. She's going to be able to slow these guys down for days, and there's not going to be able to get an escape, as well as just a stun with a concussive blow.
Yeah, well, that CC might be a little bit disrupted now because we do get to see the additional range of the Caitlyn locked in here for Hassan. And the anti-engage queen herself, Morgana, down in the bottom lane. And I must admit, Caitlyn Morgana, we know we love to see them. I'm very interested to see how Carthage's Morgana goes into the likes of a Braum and Ashe. Because there are a lot of things you have to take into account. What are you trying to dot? What are you trying to spell shield? What can you dodge? What can't you dodge? Is it worth dropping it for this, or do I try to wait it for later? There's actually a lot of things you have to take into account when playing up against this, so I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah, so we'll see how they play this one out. But Olaf being locked in for the jungle on the side of Magnolia, we've seen what his potential on in the assassin role. So early game, I do expect that Magnolia does show his face around these lanes. Don't know which ones just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do see him down to the bot side to get this bot lane ahead, because Ashe does quite a bit of deeps if we do get her ahead, so they have to watch out for that one. They've taken away the Yi. Not exactly sure why.
I think it's more of a safety thing than anything else. Yi does sort of signify that you don't really have the intention to go for a heavy crowd control in your last 2 picks to me. At least more so than the Braum and Ashe that you've already secured for yourselves. I suppose that will be telling in what they do decide to lock in here, because they're going to have to not blind pick the top lane, so they're going to have to lock in a top lane to match the Ornn, and I'm very curious what champion they say, okay, well, we can't... Like, do they just go Mord here? Yeah. You have to go Mord here, right?
It's a good pick. Like, as you said, it's not a favorable matchup for Ornn, but he has ways of dealing with it. But as we said, it's not a favorable matchup because basically, as soon as Ornn brings in the Ornn Horn, Mordekaiser can ulti him, and he can't headbutt the Ram back.
Yeah.
So,
it locks him out very much so. I got very excited by the Zac hover, but Shyvana being locked in here. I assume this is for Ikajo.
Yeah, it would be.
And is that going to be an AD or an AP Shyvana?
It would be AD, and I'm assuming... Well, it depends on the mid laner. I'd say AD with an AP mid, but if it's an AD mid, then it'd be an AP Shyvana. It's an AP mid, so it's an AD Shyvana.
Alright, so we get a bit of a bruiser coming out from the jungle position here. With the Corki in the middle lane. Now, do you just look at Azir here if you can play it? Or, because we're currently looking at the likes of Zoe, but if I'm not mistaken, that matchup can get pretty rough pretty quickly.
It's definitely rough for the Zoe, so she does not want to be picking this one up. Okay, so here's the thing. That's not a favorable matchup for Guapi, but if he plays this one right, again, it's still not a favorable matchup, because what Itswa can do is the reason why Corki is a good mid laner is because you build like an AD carry, right? Because he's a marksman. Corki's a marksman, but you do 80% AP damage. And on top of that, the reason why Corki is a good mid laner as well is because he's got mobility. And Zoe doesn't do too well into mobility champion. So...
Makes it very hard to land a Sleepy Trouble bubble.
Yeah. It's going to be a little bit rough for Guapi, but if played right, Guapi is going to be playing this one safe. Itswa is going to be shoving this wave in because he's got more push pressure, got more DPS to be able to do so. So I do think that Guapi is going to be sitting back for a little bit until he does have a little bit of support from his junglers or lane swaps or mid game happens.
I feel like the more likelihood scenario there is the arrival of the junglers. I don't see why you would lane swap, at least in any capacity at the early game. Because where would you put her? Because you want Mordekaiser into the Ornn. You kind of want the Ashe into the Caitlyn just because you can return poke. You don't have much of an option there. So I would love to see what Mongolia's Olaf can pull off. He's very proficient in the Rengar. There's no question on that one. But how does he go when he can't rely on... Like, Olaf is a snowball champion, but he can't rely on the impactful power of, the just one button delete of the Rengar ultimate.
Top lane. Magnolia wants to focus up in the top side. Ornn is safe into the Mordekaiser, but we all know that Mordekaiser has, well, most of us do know, that Mordekaiser has the advantage into Ornn, as well as Olaf does quite a bit of damage early game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Magnolia up in the top side quite a bit, making sure Emperor Wang, or just making sure Soil gets ahead. Because the Fen Mordekaiser means he can snowball that lead to the Zoe, which means Zoe should be able to deal with the Corki lane a little bit easier. And if not the Mordekaiser, Magnolia. Magnolia will head towards topside, get the early advantage with the Mordekaiser, have the assists as well, to be able to then buff Guapi in the mid lane.
Yeah, and with a minute left coming in, there is the last thing again, it's probably impossible to know, but I'm very curious to be where this Shyvana goes in terms of her damage output and her build. Because in solo queue, you see an abundance of the AP Shyvana, which is very much just poke burst oriented. Whereas AD Shyvana is basically the opposite, if I'm not mistaken, Tico. It's all about Blade of the Rune King, Conqueror, and rolling up. So I'll be very excited to see how that goes. But guys, the first game of the best of 3 series is about to kick off. Do not go anywhere, as me and Tico will be right back to give you the action of game number 1 of the winners final bracket between Perth Modern School and Rangitoto College. Game number 1 is about to kick off, ladies and gentlemen. Rangitoto College and Perth Modern High School butting heads to find out who will get the golden ticket to the grand finals of Meta and who will have to claw their way to it themselves. We're seeing Rangitoto deciding to it kicked things off a little bit with fun with this bottom side invade that is immediately thwarted.
Yeah, so the Ash gets a 1 CS lead, and that's an extra 10 gold in his pocket. GG. Rangitoto take this game.
The biggest of GGs. Ashes does 10 gold up. How do you compete with that?
You don't. Ash has won the game. Like, that's the biggest gold lead ever. That's pre 1 minute. Come on.
It's a good start, but there may be some more shenanigans here, Tico, as we are seeing an invade coming through here. It is only a 3-man strong invade, however, and they're going to need to be careful for the side of Rangitoto, unless this is like the hatch of Hassan and Kathich as they roam to lane. But instead, it looks like there's a low invade there. And now they'll show themselves an immediate disengage coming out here from the side of Perth Modern School. It doesn't really look like they're interested in fighting this at all.
No, they have to leave this one alone and rotate towards the top side. Really unfortunate for Ikajo, but he's going straight towards a red buff in the enemy jungler.
As he should.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you can't get 3-buffed. That hurts. Also, it is going to be, from the looks of it, an AP Rakan. Oh, not Rakan. Shyvana, sorry. Because of the Dark Harvest start. And I'm getting very interested because I haven't casted an AP Shyvana in a long time. And that AP Shyvana was not able to land a multi-man Flame Breath after popping the ultimate. So we'll have to see how that one goes. As top lane, this is about what we expect.
Yeah. So it does give them a little bit of an advantage. Does mean that with the vertical jungling on Perth Modern High School, they do have a relatively good start in terms of not having the Olaf go directly towards topside, and might take a little bit more than 3 minutes to show his face around one of the lanes. But I'm a little bit surprised that Ikajo didn't go for a 2-buff clear on the jungle side of Rangitoto.
Could it be because of like lane positioning? Because we talk a lot about lane. Sorry, I hear an ignite cue and I was like, ooh, fights. Could it be because we're looking at lane priority and such, and we're already seeing Guppy basically push in Etzwa pretty hard, even though the matchup we thought would be a bit more Etzwa favored.
Yeah, well, I mean, Etzwa sort of just hit level 3, which means he can now start pushing with his Gatling gun. But even then, Guapi's playing this one really well as well. It has picked up the correcting potions, which means should be able to sustain his mana quite a little bit easier as well, forcing Etzwa back away from the minion wave as well. Just needs to be careful of the amount of mana Guapi spends, because that's going to be a rough spot. Okay. Very good with the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, though, I have to admit.
And that's partly where we're seeing this lead building in the middle lane. And well, speaking of the leads at building, Ikajo does not like this. He's trying to farm on AP Shyvana, and he's not given the time of day. First blood getting slammed out by Magnolia.
Nah, had to respect that. Greeted too much for the camp. Probably just had to back, reset, and go for his other camps. Not that he has any.
Is that a moment where it's respect the drip, Karen? Is that a relevant meme?
No, Boomer, no.
I don't know any.
No.
I don't understand a single one of your Zoomer memes. I've tried so much of your Zoomer. Like, I've been hearing people talk about the drip for ages. I assume it's just when you get like a lead on someone, but clearly not.
Look, respect the drip is not specific to League of Legends.
Damn it.
That's
I'm thinking on that.
Yeah, no. Anyway, we'll just move on from this embarrassing story of Midnight and back to this game of League of Legends. Guapi has picked up the Dark Seal. And this is not a, oh my gosh, I'm going to carry this game item pickup. It's I want to sustain this lane as best I can with these corrupting potions. And has decided the Dark Seal is the best way to go.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people do maybe forget that you get 25% additional healing from any potions you have while rocking the Dark Seal in your inventory. So yeah, it's a bit silly almost not to have it, as we're seeing Ikajo once again in trouble here. He's gonna get run down by the Flash, and a couple more autos will probably do it. Yeah, just Flash on the spot, get the kill. Typical Yumi, typical Zoe.
Yeah, just Zoe things. Can pick up your Flash if decided to use. So did pick up the Flash from Ikajo, and use it against him. Just Zoe things, you know.
Your weapon is my weapon now. As we're seeing Goppy put some more pressure down in this middle lane, and I kind of love how Magnolia is once again invading the bottom side of the map, even if he is in quite a bit of trouble, in need of Lemon Lord to get him out alive.
Okay. Yeah, and I can say that I was a little bit wrong as to how Guapi was going to play this one. But I do think that the Corgi still has power. He's decided that he wants to do a little bit more damage to the Zoe, so he's picked up a pickaxe first. But I do think that the reason why Guapi has such an advantage here is because Magnolia is shoving in, making sure that Ikajo is not relevant, and has enough priority in, and Guapi has enough priority in his lane to say, hey, I can poke out Esports, no problem, and there's probably not going to be too much that Perth Modern High School can do at this point in the game.
No, because their bot lane is being pushed in, their mid laner is definitely being pushed in, and their top laner, I'm trying to think of the words to look for. Yeah, they're being pushed in as well. So Perth Modern School have almost, I don't want to say they've intentionally drafted 3 losing lanes, because I don't like this bottom lane specifically is meant to be quite dominant, but with the way it's currently being played, they are just not in a position to really, you be used as leverage or tempo for anything. And now you're stuck in a really awkward spot where Perth Modern School is constantly on the defensive, and the only time they get to play on the offensive is when they're skirmishing in their own jungle.
Yeah. And they really just want to play around trying to catch out Magnolia when he does that. So, and look, he's invading these jungle like every single 5 minutes. So they have to be wary of it. They have to keep wards in the side of the jungle that they're not in. And they're not doing that enough. Perth Modern School, they need to gain control of their jungle. And if they don't have control, they need to be placing wards in it, because all 3 turrets are still standing. They still should have control of their jungle, and they should have wards in it and to be able to spot out wherever and whenever Magnolia, invades. But unfortunately, they're not.
Oh, Chantic Crystalaro cleanse as well as Blacksteel coming down there, but it may not be enough, as both sides will choose to back away. As I was saying, it might not be enough. So at least for now it seems to be, but on the bright side, there is I forgot what I was going to go with that one.
Yes. Well,
I was going to go items. Sorry, I was talking about items. Just like, I don't know where my brain went there. I was going to say Corgi's finally got the tier. That's what I was thinking I was going with that one. Which should hopefully give him some room, because this is just rough. Wait, did he drop Riptail behind?
Yeah.
Magnolia, that's cruel. I love it, but that's just like unnecessarily cruel.
Well, it didn't necessarily. Well, because we know that Magnolia has a lot of jungle priority. He really is just using that Rift Hell to gain some extra. Oh, geez, he's taking a bit of damage. Using that Rift Hell to just get some extra gold. 320 gold. It's 320 gold. Might as well use it. They don't need the pushing power, so they're just gonna give some extra gold over to the top laner as well as jungle. Ikajo.
Speaking of jungle, though, that's a dead Ikajo given over to Blackberry here, and Ikajo's Shyvana is honestly struggling. I'd say this is the problem that Ikajo needs to care for, his positioning, but he's being constantly invaded, and he's got no lane priority that's actually going to be able to provide him with the help that he needs. So it's a matter of, in terms of just drafting, Ikajo kind of needs to expect to not be allowed to play League of Legends.
Yeah. And it goes back to the point where they need to be able to know where Magnolia is, to be able to keep track and know where Ikajo is safe to be. So now that they have dragon spawning, I think it is safe to say that Magnolia will be around the bot side, so they should be able to clear some jungle camps in the top side of their jungle. But other than that, they don't know where Magnolia is, and the biggest thing about being able to play into this comp is tracking the jungler, because that's where it's all starting. Package bot.
Yeah, they're going on Blackberry. They're going to get him down quite quickly. They're trying to turn around the Hanson, not able to turn it around in of itself, but with the arrival of the reinforcements there, Lemon trying to buy time with the stopwatch that they will pull Cathatch in. They will be saved. Thank you very much, Symbol. Will save your support. Get the concussive blows proc and slam the hammer down for a double kill.
A beautiful time to use the Realm of Death, and I've never seen it used like that to save a champion from them being last hit, but that was played beautifully by Soil, and they do take the advantage. They should be able to take this Mountain Drake away for the second dragon of the game.
Yeah, and that's a second dragon at 11 minutes. Like, these are such fast dragons that are being secured by these two teams here, which does lean towards a bit more of an early game, these teams wanting to fight and decide who's going to win in the early game. And hey, they've got the champions to do so. Corki spikes hard on 2 items, and the Caitlyn, again, she's designed to take control of the game early, get additional turrets through turret blocks, and then push their tempo there. So, teams are both just sort of chill for now, but it's kind of working out as the scaling game has finally started to be something that needs to be considered.
Yeah, and when you look at the scaling composition, you don't instantly think of Shyvana, especially AP Shyvana. Like, yeah, she does a little bit of damage, but that's not the entire premise of Shyvana. Okay, Ikaja, rough chat.
Yeah, wait, what? Ikaja, big brain? Ikaja
tried. So tried. So close.
And Goppy actually might get down here, but instead the Sleeper Shovel Bubble will be in a pedal start, will get the kill as well. Well, I'm sure it's not surprising to say that Perth has lost control of their jungle.
Yeah, they do not have any reason to be in their own jungle anymore. Yeah, sure. The Shyvana wants to see us, but no, you're not allowed to anymore. Not your jungle. Yeah, so as I was saying, scaling game, you don't necessarily look at the Shyvana. You look at the Corki, you look at the Caitlyn, you look at the Ornn, especially the Ornn. It will be hard for them to be able to play in towards the mid game and hold it out, because there is such potential for this snowball to get larger and larger for Rangitoto. We've seen them be able to do it before, and they can hold on and snowball this lead even further. So what they really need to do is sloth it.
Sloth it up. But the issue is that, Tico, is that they're going to have to survive long enough to do that. And unfortunately, from the looks of it, it's just not going to be the case, as they are 7,000 gold behind at 13 minutes. They are losing members in their own jungle here. And while they will get a nice shutdown gold, that will still be another death over in their favor. 13 kills in 13 minutes.
A rough position to be in, but that's 1,000 gold.
Also, going in the bot lane, Fish is in a lot of trouble there, and it will go down, and the root just not enough damage. Get in front of him! Woohoo! Blackberry playing with our hearts there. As yet another turret plating will shatter for the side of Rangitoto. So much gold being accelerated for them.
Yeah, they take the lead and push it even further and further ahead. They're sitting at about an 8,000 gold difference at 14 minutes. A huge lead for this time in the game, but, I mean, you take those. You definitely take those. Blade of the Rune King finally being picked up by the Ashe. That's definitely going to help out with the DPS against some of these champions.
Tico?
Magi's?
Yeah, you talked about how the Dark Seal wasn't a I'm going to take over this game item, and how we're utilizing it for the healing factor.
Okay.
Like Wolverine's healing factor coming out. And instead, Garby has made you the fool, my friend.
No, okay. So its initial purchase was for the healing. Like, Guapi purchased that. Yeah, I know. Guapi purchased.
I saw an opening. I'm like, yes, Magi's. We have to talk about this.
Guapi, yeah, okay. So Guapi purchased the corrupting potion with the main intent of picking up the Dark Seal as the next back to increase healing, because Guapi didn't know how the Corki was going to be playing this, aggressive or non-aggressive. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
best of both worlds. You pick up healing, and if you do extra damage, and if you take the game away by snowballing, might as well upgrade into a Magi Soul Stealer. There's no, at this point, looking at the situation, there's no reason not to pick up the Magi's.
Yeah. Well, he's utilizing that advantage to set up around the next dragon. On the bottom half of the map. Hell, we can see that the kills on the bottom lane here. As we're seeing, yeah, Mongolia is pushing his luck a little bit. Maybe giving over a few souls that aren't necessary. As in Hassan has to be careful. And Chenikos arrow does connect, and that is the death of the Caitlyn. And Kathach gets caught by the Sleepy Trouble bubble. The Paddle Star is not able to connect as Blackberry picks up the kill.
Yeah, very well played by the side of Rangitoto. They have picked themselves up a 10,000 gold difference, and that is a lot of that gold is sitting between the 80 carry, the mid lane, and the jungle.
And I just think bringing up the gold values there, we're seeing 2,000 for the marksman. I feel disgusting saying the 3,000 difference in mid lane. The 3,000 difference in the jungle as well. Hell, there's even a 2,000 difference in the top lane. Like, every lane from Rangitoto is just winning over their Perth counterpart. And in a best of series, how do you look at this as Perth and say, okay, here's how we recover the situation. Here's how we, prevent this from happening. I just don't see there's no band-aid fix for this.
No, there's no band-aid fix, but you can get some of those stitches in because you have the late game scaling, and it'll heal eventually if they do hold on. Because their Corkies almost hit the 2-item power spike, which is Trinity Force, Menamune. Upgrade that to a more mana, and that Corki is going to be dealing out some major DPS. Caitlyn's almost finished her Infinity Edge, has got the call, so it's definitely a scaling game for the side of Perth Modern High School. I don't think that the Caitlyn has enough time to wait this one out because you got to get to 3 items as a Caitlyn. It's just a little bit hard for that to happen at this point in the game.
Yeah, especially in a game state like this as well. Where how are you meant to get there? Like, where do you farm where you can get to 3 items where you're not going to die immediately? Apparently the answer is here, but, well, you lose your jungler, you lose your mid laner not long after as well. Devastation coming through for the double kill there. Hansen will fall as well as the tower dive comes through. Emperor Lang has joined his team, and his team will shatter. As there is a double kill there for Blackberry. Blackberry flashes forwards for the triple kill before dying himself.
That was a beautiful play coming out from Lemon Lord as well. The Ornhorn trying to turn that team fight around, and Brom realizing this one puts the shield in the way of the ram as it was coming towards the big ram god himself, and blocks that one coming through. So that was really well done. Just the small things I appreciate from a Brom.
Yeah, like they are the.
Goodbye.
No! He's gonna get just taken out and annihilated. They might be able to get out Lemon Lord, and they will. But they'll also lose their mid laner here. And Bobby's just being a bully at this point.
Yeah. Here's a paddle star. Here's the sleepy trouble bubble.
Yeah. Oh, these abilities, they poke? Absolutely they poke. They poke you in the eyeballs. Good luck.
Yeah.
As the next turret has crumbled, over 2,000 gold in debt. I just look at the gold difference. It's just astronomical. How quickly Rangitoto has accumulated such a gold lead.
Yeah, they're playing this one really well, and Corki needs to get that Trinity Force if they want to have any chance of turning this around. But as the game goes further and further, it just seems like Rangitoto have been snowballing this lead so far. And it's gone to the point where Guapi's hit 25 stacks on this Magi Soul Stealer. So, you get deleted.
Yeah.
There's no if or buts. You are going to get deleted.
3,
like
2,
this.
1. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And what do you do in this situation? Well, you need to get a cleanse, which you don't have the money to do. You need to dodge the skill shot, which is difficult to do. Or you can, that's what comes to mind actually, Tico. sadly. And none of them are too easy options, sadly. So we'll have to see what can the rest of the cavalry do, as we're seeing Kwapi just playing with his food and deleting Ikoja.
Oh. They really wanted to pick up a kill onto Guapi. Like, okay, that's enough. We're going to try and pick up your bounty as well as take a couple stacks off your Magi's, but Guapi's slippery. Had to use a flash, but he got out of there. The rest of the team are going to be shoving in the top side and the bot side, and they have to go for a fight here if they want to turn something around.
Yeah, and you talk about having to go for the fight. They will get down Blackberry, but the fight turn around, maybe just coming from the Olaf itself. They haven't got the damage output to deal with Ragnaropping Olaf, and they will run them down the Glacial Fissure, and the kill will come to the Undertow. A quadra kill coming in here for Mangaland, and that is going to be the game done and dusted. Both Nexus turrets will shatter to dust, will crumble, and Rangitoto will take the series 1-0 in the best of 3.
Yeah, but the Shyvana does a little bit of damage, right?
He's just taking it. He doesn't give a damn.
Oh, that's what they were going for.
It is the pentakill. What a lad coming through here, as the minion will shove in an end, as Rangitoto takes game number 1.
Well done coming out from Rangitoto. They do take a game number 1. But, you know, best of 3. They still have one more game to come back on the side of Perth Modern High School. And I do think that they need to rethink what they are doing with this composition. They need to rethink what their priorities are in terms of being able to shut down the major members, because Magnolia was a big player in the previous game, so they have to make sure that they take that into account. But also, Guapi, come on.
Have a solution. All right, are you ready for the big brain solution, Tico, that will prevent Magnolia from bullying Ikoja? It's that simple. Don't draft 3 losing lanes. It sounds so simple, but you blind picked the Ornn. Okay, I think that's fine, honestly. Acknowledge the fact that you've already lost the top lane. You then take the what do you take in this situation? The Caitlyn and the Morgana, which is a typical poke lane, except you need to be able to get your damage down. I think you need to pick something dominant here. Lucian Braum here. Something powerful, something that takes over the game. Because Caitlyn, she doesn't take over the bottom lane. She just gets a ton of gold because she destroys your turret plantings. So something more dominant needs to be coming out of here from the side of Perth Modern School if they want to have an opportunity to go to game number 3. But guys, do not go anywhere, as the second game between these two schools will be right around the corner.
Dad.
Bring your family together. Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second game of our best of 3 series here for what could be a very exciting matchup here between Perth Modern School and Rangitoto College for the winners final over here at Meta. My name is Midnight, joined by Tico still for the upcoming game number 2.
Sounded a little bit disappointed with that still, Midnight.
That's never the case, Tico. You know, there is no one I would rather be casting beside than you, my guy.
Oh, that
Even if you are an annoying Zoomer half the time.
Oh, yeah, okay, Boomer. Cool. I get it. There are older people that you like to be with, but that's fine. You can go back to your nursery home soon. After this game, though, because we are going right into the second game between Rangitoto College and Perth Modern High School. How are we feeling about it?
I'm worried, honestly. Rangitoto won that game in such a convincing fashion. Now, part of that could be down to the draft, and I think the draft is going to be critical here. Perth Modern School cannot, under any circumstances, draft nearly as poorly as they did if they want to have a chance here. They need to draft an aggressive jungler. They need to draft at least 1 winning lane, I'd like 2. And they need to come out of this game swinging, because if they don't, well, I'm expecting a repeat of game number 1.
Yeah, the early advantage into the snowball, and I just don't think that they fell too far behind to be able to come back from that sort of deficit. And yeah, and they didn't have the kits or the composition to be able to turtle their way back into that game. And unfortunately, they were too far behind for them to be able to come back into that first game. Now we're back into the second game. It's a restart for them. They can press the reset button and they can see what they can do. They have learned their experiences, and they should, as you said, come in with a little bit of a kick or a little bit of a stride in their step.
Now, the Zoe here is interesting. Now, many people will say, Tico, that when you lose to something in a best of series, a good solution is to ban it, because it's what beat you, right? I disagree with that in this scenario here. You didn't lose last game because of the Zoe. You lost last game because you drafted 3 losing lanes and your jungler wasn't allowed to play League of Legends for 20 minutes. So we'll see if these changes in the banning phase come out to fruition. As I see Lucian, and my heart stops, because if they grab a Lucian, that's going to Guapi in the mid lane, and that is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
I mean, Lucian has been showing his face in the mid lane, purely because of his mobility. Like, you do want to pick a Lucian as a counter pick, though. Purely because there are champions that counter Lucian in the mid lane, and Lucian does rely on his mobility to be able to outplay some of the mid laners that you more traditionally see in the mid lane. So I would have been a little bit surprised if they insta-locked the Lucian in first for the mid lane, but they didn't. They picked the Ashe.
Really strong right now. Anyway, we've seen a lot of priority in her this series, so it's not too surprising there. The top lane matchup has also been quite quickly identified. It is going to be Renekton in this favor of Rangitoto, facing up against the tank of the Malphite for Perth Modern School. I get worried about that matchup as well, because Malphite can hold for a while, but if Renekton goes for the Blade of the Ruin King, Titanic Hydra, Black Cleaver build that's rather popular right now, he's going to tear Malphite apart mid to mid game. So I'm very, very interested to see what build path the top laner has ready for us.
Yeah, I mean, Renekton does really well into these tanky style champions. Renekton wants to get that early advantage, and I don't necessarily know if that's going to be a favorable. I know it's not a favorable matchup for Malphite. Like, he can slow, but he's got a limited amount of mana to pull from, to be able to get his seismic shards, to be able to disengage from Emperor Wang. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see a Malphite in the jungle, but there's a less than likely chance of that happening.
Yeah, it can work, but it's just one of the things that there are so many other junglers that can do better things than Malphite can. Why? So we'll have to find out, as we have, of course, hit the second round of bans, and the junglers, as we were talking about, have seemed to be the ones to suffer here. Lilia as well as Silas getting caught away by the ban list here, and the final ban that's going to be coming out of the side of Perth Modern School is going to be once again aimed at Guppy's mid lane, is the Fizz.
Yeah, taking away those really hard hitting mid laners, the Akali, the Zoe, the Silas, the Fizz, taking away every single opportunity there so that they don't risk once again Guppy, taking the snowball and bringing that even further. Because in that previous game we saw that the jungler just snowballed the early lead, and then Guppy took it over from there and was able to get a lot of DPS, stack up his Magi's, and then take it away. Lee Sin,
aggressive, much similar to the Olaf that we did see last game. A bit more flex that can come out of a Lee Sin, a bit more flair, but I really do love it. You get up in Xin Zhao's face, you fight him, you have your backup, and you're good to go. So do it. Come on, Guppy. You know you want to. You know you want to do it. That would be such a power move, and instead he retreats to the Twisted Fate.
Retreats. I still think Twisted Fate is a strong, powerful tool, and I want to see how they're going to counterpick into that one, because you don't see much of a Twisted Fate. So there's not as many known counterpicks into the Twisted Fate. I mean, you don't want to go an Assassin because of the gold card. You really want to go for more either a Galio or an AP Mage.
Yeah. I feel like an AP Mage is a hybrid of the two, basically, is quite nice here. The Swain locked in. Tanky, Mage dealing. More than happy to take that one for Perth Modern Scores. We take a final look at our team comp, Seeker, and very different from both teams than what we saw in the first game of this best of 3 series.
Yeah. But it does give them, on the side of Rangitoto, that does give them a little bit more global pressure. Twisted Fate gives them a lot of vision globally. Malphite, I'm not exactly sure what Rangitoto are doing with this composition, however. It's centered around teamfight, and there's quite a bit of a combo that could potentially go in terms of pick potential, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, with the Dark Binding, with the Dragon Rage of the Lee Sin, and the Unstoppable Force from the Malphite, and the Gold card from the Twisted Fate. They have so much potential to lock down one champion, but they need to play that. They need to play that composition well.
Yeah, they do, but I'm quite confident they should be able to. But on the side of Rangitoto, they have winning lanes, Deco. Their top laner should win up against the Malphite, at least in the early stages of the game. We should see the Swain, going relatively even with the Twisted Fate, which does allow some more pressure to breathe out. And while I don't expect Caitlyn Braum to be winning up against Ashe Morgana, I think it'll do a little bit better than what we had last game for them. So, all in all, I'm really happy with the improvement that Perth have put towards this draft. Now the question is, can they execute on it?
Yeah, that was the problem with the previous game as well, because they had a relatively decent composition, and we were giving quite a bit of credit to the Corgi and the Shyvana. I mean, and they did have the opportunity to play towards their strengths, which was the late game, except Rangitoto just didn't give them the time to get to that point. So now that they have the potential power to take this early game away, we'll need to see if they're going to be able to pull that one off, or if Rangitoto are gonna just sit back and let it happen before they say, okay, now it's our turn.
Yeah, and I think that will be dictated through our junglers here. Lee, Sin, and Xin Zhao can be very impactful in the early game, depending on how they're played. And of course, who is piloting them. So I'm very excited to see these two junglers butt heads in, again, aggressive, fast-paced League of Legends. I am hoping for... I'm a fan of bloodbaths, always have been, so I'm probably a little bit biased when I say that I would love a similar game to what we had in game number 1, albeit a lot more even of a playing ground for the two teams to play upon.
Yeah, but yeah, we are. Yeah, well, we are getting into the second game for this best of three series, so we'll see whether or not Perth Modern High School or Rangitoto take this one away. Maybe with this early game comp, we might see Perth Modern High School taking this second game away if they're going to be able to snowball that lead, but only time will tell.
Exactly, but with time being the teller, guys, let's find out. I'll have you tell us who you think is going to win game number 2 here. Will it be Rangitoto College or will it be Perth Modern High School picking game number 2 in this best of 3 series, guys? Type it in chat and we'll see you for game number 2. Game number 2 between Rangitoto College and Perth Modern High School is about to kick off here, and very excited to see the two teams, if there's going to be any early shenanigans between them, but once again, it looks like neither team is really willing to risk anything just yet.
Look at the amount of birds around Summoner's Rift. That Hextech Swain skin is amazing, but it really doesn't hide the fact that there is a Swain around the corner. Like, it's not hidden at all, but does so anyway. Midnight is fixing his green screen because he doesn't Know how to hold that one up. Anyway. Midnight, welcome back. Don't know if he's listening, but that does not matter. Okay, so they are trying to get something going through. Guapi is looking as if he might try something dangerous. They do spot him out, but I don't know what they're doing. Midnight, welcome back.
You saw that, huh, Tico?
Yeah, I was doing a play-by-play for our audience.
Oh no! Looked over my green screen. All right, well, moving on with the boring. Midnight apparently just can't not damage something. Coming into this game here, both junglers will be starting on their red buffs. Now, okay, I want to see early jungle aggression coming out of both of these players. So I'm really hoping we see maybe not necessarily a level 1 cheese gank, but something similar to those regards. And in fact, never mind, Ikajo is already looking to come top lane. That's what we want to be seeing here. Unfortunately, just like that, doesn't really give a damn. He's Malphite. He'll live.
Yeah, for now though, because that's the thing. Renekton will be bullying for days, so they definitely do have to be careful. Malphite does have a corrupting potion, so he should be fine in terms of being able to sustain it for now.
Yeah, he should be good to go for that one there. And he's also running biscuit delivery, so he'll have plenty of HP to burn. A lot of poke will be coming out from him as well, which I think is really the main core of that. Is Renekton has great sustain, but he sustains best when he's able to duel players because he gets additional healing back. So if you can poke him down, yes, you're going to fall significantly behind in CS, but you can make it work. And speaking of Guppy's almost going to get solo killed in the mid lane.
Oh, good gold card.
Oh wait, getting better. No, first blood comes in for Iswa. What? Why would you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he tried to get he got the gold card stun, which was pretty good. Itswa was really hankering for that kill, so he flashed, tried to get a pick up, and he did manage to get the first blood off the back of that. But now now the Soil wants to try and get something back as well, but it really isn't going to work. And a Swain matchup in the mid lane is just rough for Twisted Fate. He doesn't have mobility to dodge that claw, the one that you just saw. And it's hard. It's got a relatively good hitbox as well. So
the Emperor going in for this one. Does he have the damage output? The answer, sadly, is no.
I don't understand what that flash was.
I believe that's what we call a panic flash.
Interesting.
Yeah,
right.
It's been a long day of League of Legends for these players here, so I suspect that may be getting to them a little bit here. As we're 4 minutes into the game here, we're seeing more skirmish in the middle lane as Ikajo comes up behind to get a pretty nice flank onto Guapi, but Guapi, supposed to make, he's just getting these really nice autos down, and that's going to force them away as he's forced to back up Soyol.
Yeah. Well, now that we've got like 3 members in the mid lane, they definitely do have to back away from this one. Lemon Lord taking a little bit of damage, so is Itswa.
Yeah.
But that leaves ball lane open.
And we're seeing that openness utilized. Whoa, come back to that in a second as Guppy picks up a kill courtesy of Lemon Lord's hard work. But I'd say this bot lane, Blackberry's basically forced to live under turret and pray that he isn't tower dive in these sort of situations.
Well, I don't think a tower dive is going to be a real threat at this point in the game, just yet. Just because these two characters, Brom and Caitlyn, don't have too much potential against basically a full health Ashe. They don't have enough DPS to be able to take her down just yet, but they still do have to be careful in the 2v1 lane. Because it is a 2v1 lane, it does force the AD carry to stand underneath the turret, but it also means that she gets a little bit more XP, especially when the support has roamed up towards the mid lane.
And I think in a way, that's fine. Of all champions to leave on their own, Ashe isn't the end of the world because you want her to get access to level 6 and level 12, you know, get her access to that higher tier ultimate for the stun duration and just a bit of extra oomph. So, you know, I'm quite a fan to see that. And also, You need to get this Twisted Fate ahead so he can use that ultimate, move around the map, and really help the team get ahead. That's why you pick him. That's why you utilize him. And maybe partly in a nutshell, has a helping hand that will be the first dragon. Oh no, Ikaja picked up the first dragon. Never mind, I'm blind.
Yeah, a quick pickup from Ikajo. But they definitely did need that to not fall too far behind. Ooh, good Dark Binding.
Yeah, well, I see some nice engages on the bottom side here. And the top side as well. The Emperor is in so much trouble. The Flash coming out. That will be another kill there. As Solo goes on the top side, on the bottom side dive here. Hansen is trying to fight back the best he can, but he needs to be careful. He's so low. But speaking of low, Sojo is not getting caught out just yet. Heal comes out from Isla, who's forced to back away, and no further engages will be had.
Yeah, great Dark Binding to disengage from that one. They might be able to turn this one around on Itzwa. 1v3 if they do get the damage.
Yeah, well, they might have it, but they're going to be careful. The flash of Flash coming out here between Marksman and Jungler is something that needs to be respected.
Yeah, you definitely do have to respect the Shinzao, especially when you're on such low health. You need to make sure that you don't get taken down that easily. So Flash for Flash, maybe not worth, but I mean, you do manage to survive. You took down the Braum on top of that. So that pushes their lead to a just under a 2,000 gold difference.
And that's a good start, but now you need to use this some more. It's all good building up a small 2,000 gold lead, but what are you going to do with it? For example, the Twisted Fate, you would expect him to use the ultimate to keep roaming around the map and keep influencing the other lanes, keep shifting them more in the favor of the team there. And in a way, it's what we want to see. I want to see the Twisted Fate constantly. I think top lane would be a really good lane to just constantly bully, get this Renekton further and further behind than he already is, and make Malphite a basically unstoppable split push threat.
Yeah, that'd be the dream. I mean,
yeah.
Send Guapi up into the top side because, as we talked about before, he's got global presence. With a Twisted Fate, who has ultimate every 3 minutes. Oh, Dark Binding does land.
A nice damage under Hansen, but thankfully the Nani Cabinet will slow things down. But Teleport coming from the backside, is there any actual CC? The answer is, well, a solid no. As Hansen is going to get sniped out by the enchanted crystal arrow. And sure, he will lose his support, but I think a 1-for-1 trade is relatively worth when you can get a kill with such a nice flex.
Yeah. Yeah, taking the enchanted crystal arrow to the face. Hansen is not looking too pretty with that one, making it indent. But they will be able to secure the Rift Herald on the side of Rangitoto. And I wouldn't be surprised if they drop this in towards the mid side, get Guapi even further ahead, get some snowball going for the mid laner. And, I mean, looking at it now, Itzwa is struggling a little bit as well.
Yeah. It's across the board. He's falling, like, sorry, across the board, Perth feels like they're struggling in this bottom lane where I felt like they wouldn't dominate, but they are falling behind a little bit. In the mid lane is the most egregious offender of 1,000 gold in favor of Guapi. And that's not just because of the Twisted Fate passive paying him off there. So it's going really well for them to use this lead as, wow, that was beautiful to behold there. He will flash himself to safety, and Guapi will come in for cleanup.
Soil, beautiful plays coming out. That's the flashy sort of things that we wanted to see coming out from at least in the jungle. They do drop Rift Herald in the mid lane, giving them a couple tower platings. I don't think this is going to be able to help them secure the tower, but it is definitely going to be taking all the tower platings away. Guapi has to be careful, though. Has to walk up towards that jungle, or...
And a 2-man flank coming out there. 3-man flank, in fact, for Ikato is there to boot. But Guapi gets out with almost no incidents, which is really alarming. You cannot be committing 3 people to, like, a gank, only to net nothing. That is such a waste of resources.
Yeah, and the thing is, now they've left bot lane for a free farming lane for the Ashe. And it allows her to, you know, come back in terms of the CS, as well as just push her lead ahead even further.
Exactly. And with the way that the Ashe works, she doesn't even need to be in the fights to be relevant. She can fire an enchanted crystal arrow, If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, oh well, you tried. So, yeah, they've now rematched with Hansen in the bottom lane, but they now need to be careful because Hansen, he's sitting on boots in a cull. He's not exactly got stats to actually fight anybody, which we're seeing here because, well, we see Blackberry just beating up on him a little bit.
Yeah. And Hasten doesn't have any mana to work with either. Doesn't have the summoner spell to heal. Just doesn't have any stats to be able to fight up with Blackberry. So has to be very careful without the Braum. And they really just need to make sure this Caitlyn doesn't fall too far behind. On the side of Rangitoto, though, they do pick up the Mountain Drake and put a little bit of tanky stats onto their Malphite. Really onto everyone. But it's going to be most beneficial onto the Malphite, I do believe.
Seeing something in the bottom lane here. Because Soul Shackles coming out from London Lord. This could be massive if he gets both of them down. The flash will not save you, Hansen. You have no cleanse up just yet and no HP to assist you in that one there. But the fight for Mikajo could be important if Soyo isn't around as well. Can he save Lemon Lord? No, he cannot.
Oh.
But it looks like he will not die for his crimes either.
Yeah, beautiful ult coming out from Mikajo to disengage the Lee Sin. And does manage to pick up a kill, 1-for-1 trade. But once again, it's support for ADC, not favorable for Perth Modern.
Yeah, it's not favorable, but I think in a way it's the best they could do in a situation like that. Then you take those. They're already again starting to fall 5,000 gold behind, not even 15 minutes into the game, and unfortunately, Tico, it is feeling very reminiscent of the first game of the series here, where Perth, do some really nice fight back, do some really cute moves, but then they just get smacked down, basically.
But honestly, it doesn't feel as dominating as we saw in the first game, because I think that there's still every chance for Perth Modern High School to come back into this game. Because, well, I mean, Ikajo can walk in his own jungle. So that's a good thing. That's always a bonus.
Yeah, it's a massive step forward to the previous game here. And I think part of that is, look at the pressure of the lanes. Top lane is now a safe area to invade for. And maybe that's partly why we haven't seen any invades coming through the top half of the map. They've always seemed to be bottom side invades this game and trying to utilize those strengths against others. So I'm very curious to see how that works out. And oh no, that is a little bit on the rough side there, London Lord. You're a support with a fiendish codex. You do not deal damage. But he's trying. And I respect the hustle.
Yeah. Worth a try. Guapi playing a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, man, the Emperor is as well throwing himself forwards there. The rest of the team is disengaging with the Malphite going into the backline. They found their opening, and this could be disaster. Gold card lands down onto Kathak, will get him down. As now we look over to Hansen. He's trying to do what he can, but both teams will elect to disengage. 2 kills in favor of Rangitoto.
Yeah, they take that lead and push it even further ahead. I mean, I feel like if Soil had saved his ulti, he might have been able to, instead of using it as an execute onto the support, maybe picked up another kill a little bit earlier. But that is fine. They still pick up 2 kills off the back of that, and they should be able to take out the rest of the jungle as well. And Kajo now has no jungle.
Oh, this is an oddly familiar situation here, Tico. Kajo's like, hey, I'm gonna go far. Not again. I mean, the poor man is being denied by his team and the enemy team here. He will look to pick a fight, but it's just not a fight that Sojo's really interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Soil doesn't really want to take any of those. Even though he is a little bit ahead. In terms of itemization, Ikajo is ahead. Until Soil just picked up the phage on the back of that recall.
Yeah, it will be goes that one. I want to talk about how Guapi has automatic second Lemon Lord getting Soul Shackles down. Gold card is there. A couple more autos will do it as his flag will go down to 1 more auto.
Oh, he's tunneling.
Will be able to get him out there. Guapi's not going to go down in his own time there. That Medjay ain't going to stack itself, is it? as they are looking on for the likes of Katash. Now the bottom lane is the next target. The disengage, the beautiful kick from Soyol, trying to prove a point. And once again, Rangitoto just run over Perth.
Yeah, and with a 9,000 gold deficit that is in favor of Rangitoto, they do seem to be able to take this game away once again. At least on the Rift Herald, going to push their lead even further ahead. Probably going to drop that top side, but honestly, I think they should hold on to that one and maybe put it towards bot side and mid side so they can get a little bit more priority around this dragon.
Yeah, seeing that for now. We're seeing Blackberry as well as Guapi set up around there. I don't expect to contest help. They can't if Ikajo on the top half of the map anyway. So no real fight coming out of Perth Modern School, and that worries me. Perth Modern School often doesn't roll over and die, so to see them almost be willing to accept that this is their fate seems really alien to me.
Maybe they got something under their sleeve because, I mean, Swain, he takes a little bit to scale. I mean, he does have the power as a support, but in the mid lane, you sort of wait for him to scale to be able to do something effective. You do want the Swain to get an early advantage so that he can scale and start getting towards more items to be more effective, but maybe just skip that first bit.
Yeah, something along those lines. But it's not the end of the world for the side of Perth Modern School, because they are still getting their scaling going. The Caitlin's almost got Infinity Edge, and the Cull is coming along nicely, and the tier that is coming through with the Archangel's Staff, it's a while away from being completed. It's sitting at about 300 for now, but it's still on its way, which is a good step forwards. But you have to compare that to what they're up against, which is a Guapi that can apparently just half health, you're a relatively tanky member with 2 abilities, which hurts like hell.
Yeah. Ikajo definitely wants to drag that blue buff out. Never mind. He's going to give it over to his AD carry. However, we see the Lee Sin drop in the Rift Herald in the bot side, which means they are looking to push this hard.
Yeah, but we're also seeing a setup around the middle lane, because so while he's bot lane, you can pretty much do anything. Oh no, we're seeing CC being layered. Gotta be careful. Map, I guess 2 mans on the ultimate there. But where is the follow-up damage, as Blackberry is going to be fine in these situations? No one has the damage output to deal with them. And the flexing of the Lee Sin in the backline will demolish Perth where they stand. An ace at 19 minutes. The base will be cracked healthy. Nexus turrets may not be safe.
I don't know if they can end off this, though. They are going to take as much as they can, though. They're going for the mid inhib as well as a bot inhib, and then they're going to back away from it, go for a reset, and see if they can set themselves up for Baron, because I think everyone knows that they're capable of doing so.
Yeah, it's a smarter play to simply go for the 2 objectives and then back away. I don't think the Baron is an option. The Baron hasn't spawned yet, Tico. We're at 19 and a half minutes.
Okay, so I said reset and then go for Baron.
Oh, well, it looks like, unfortunately, Perth Modern School are not going to give that the time of day. They know when they are beat. They do not wish to drag out what is a brutal match, and will concede. So Rangitoto will be the first of our 2 teams that will advance their way to the grand final match for Meta.
A strong team coming out from the side of Rangitoto College. Definitely one to look out for. They've moved on to the grand finals, and huge victory coming out.
And those matches looked very, very impressive coming out there. I had hopes that Perth Modern School might be able to do quite nicely. Unfortunately, they were just not able to step up to the plate. The other teams at least have some time, Tico, if nothing else, to look at these games and try find their weaknesses, because we still have other games that will be taking place. So we have the loser quarterfinals, where we have Kingsgrove and how do I pronounce that last one again? Indraphili? I'm sure chat will yell at me again. Thank you. State High facing off against each other, and Northern Adelaide Senior College and Melbourne High School will be facing off each other. They have probably already or are still in the middle of that match. And the winners of those games will face off against each other in the losers semi-final on the 5th of September, which is next week, which we will be broadcasting. So we will see you then for that one, where we have the losers semi-finals and the losers final bracket, where we determine who will be the team that goes up against Rangitoto for the grand final of Meta, kicking off on October the 10th. So, you know, a lot of important dates, and we do hope to see every single one of you there. But I suspect, Tico, and I fear to say this, but I think that's all we have for the night.
Unfortunately, Midnight, yeah, that is all we have for you guys tonight. The winners finals, best of 3 has just been won by Rangitoto, so they do move on to the grand finals, which will be broadcasted on the 10th of October. Don't know what time yet, but we will keep you updated. Make sure you tune in to, and make sure you go to the website for Meta. Make sure you just keep up to date with everything if you want to keep in touch with how Meta's going.
Yeah, and on that note, guys, of course, thanks to our sponsor before we signed off, Acer, Intel, Optus, Harvey Norman, as well as Torrens University. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for the playoffs here for Meta, where again, Rangitoto have secured themselves their return slot to defend their title, but will they be able to? We'll have to find out who can challenge them, guys. We'll see you guys next week for the playoffs, the continuation of the playoffs. We'll see you then.
Potty pusher.
Dad!
Bring your family together. Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.